This is a Russell Dinkins production. Russell Dinkins presents The Boardroom Meeting. The Boardroom Meeting. The Boardroom Meeting.
Back with the special edition of the Boardroom Meeting featuring the MSDC. Mr. Coldcloth, that was a great call interview with Mr. Johnson, was it not?
It was phenomenal, man, with Bob Johnson. I'm so happy that he took time out of his busy schedule to call in. He recognizes that this region is very, very important to the economy.
Right.
And he shared some jewels of wisdom. I really, really appreciate all the lessons that he talked about. That was fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have waiting patiently on conference call. We have Mr. Chet Riddick from Alpha Enterprise. How are you doing, Mr. Riddick?
Yeah, I'm doing extremely well. How are you doing, Russ?
I'm doing great. We just got a corporate lesson, if you will, from Mr. Bob Johnson. Did you have a chance to listen in?
I absolutely listened in, and also I want to greet also Mr. Wade Coldcloth at the Eastern Minority Supply Development Council, also for leading these dynamic conversations that are well needed in our country.
Right.
Yes, I had a chance to listen, and one of the most important things is Bob took us to an MBA class, or we went to a doctor's degree level, when he talked about assets under your control can drive value. And I think that was a profound statement that he made that actually has impact and real credence on what is necessary to be able to drive more entrepreneurs and or business in the African American race.
Right.
Bob talked about many different kinds of things, but when you have to concur with him. It's the access to capital that is needed by African Americans who want to make change and want to create value. As he talked about changing perceptions about the African Americans, because again, he talked about we're viewed as sports players, entertainers, etc. But the bottom line is we're also business folks. We also understand what we need to do to make change in our community. And as he also talked about the ROJ rule or the Rooney rule in the NFL in terms of directors or above in government having a responsibility to look at African Americans who are have the capabilities to be able to perform RFPs, that they are included in those. And I absolutely supported Bob on this because I was down in Washington, D.C. when he began the drive of the ROJ rule.
Right.
So I think we have to commend him for what he has done in his life in terms of how he has changed perception of how we do business.
You see, Wade, that's why we couldn't let Chet in earlier. He would just took over the show. We wouldn't have a chance to say anything.
But, we couldn't ask for two better business leaders from the region and from around the world to be on today. I mean, I think that's how you set the tone for the 2014 year, and as well as this is African American History Month. It's so much wealth of knowledge out there, and the fact that you and I, Russ, I'm happy to be on the airwaves with you and educate our business entrepreneurs about the next iteration of success. But also, too, I think one of the things that I took away from the interview with Mr. Bob Johnson, he talked about growing the assets of MBEs, and that is one of the initiatives from the MSDC going forward for 2014 is wealth creation in the communities of color. Joseph Wright Lacey talked about that at our meeting in New York City a couple of weeks ago, and we have a new consolidated model for the MSDC that will help grow and inject wealth creation in the communities of color, in addition to our normal tenets of certifying minority businesses. And that's the conversation we have to start to have with our corporate members and our buying organizations. How can we grow the assets of MBEs and those other MBEs who are maybe Class 3, Class 2, and Class 1, the Class 4 MBEs, they understand that it's lift as we climb. They understand that they have the infrastructure to provide other opportunities, MBE to MBE spend, because they have the same type of infrastructure, such as, Alpha Office Group, and with that type of infrastructure, that type of growth, that type of engagement, that type of, and Bob Johnson talked about it. He said, surrounding yourself by like-minded people, you start to see a growth and wealth injection in communities of color. And I think the MSDC is expanding the space and the conversation about our validity in those areas, and that's one of the things I'm very, very excited about in 2014, about expanding that conversation, as well as creating real strategies and tactics and measurable benefits for our minority business enterprises.
Well, I know that you have to, we're going to talk about what the MSDC is doing as far as their calendar of events a little bit as we go into our home stretch of our conversation. But I wanted to, before I let Mr. Riddick go, I wanted to get a sense of what's going on with Alpha Enterprises right now. And if you give us maybe a 2 to 3 minute a synopsis of what we could expect from Alpha Enterprises in the upcoming weeks or months.
Well, certainly, Russ, I will be very pleased and happy to share with you on what's happening over here at Alpha Enterprise Group. We are building and will be completed within the next 8 to 10 weeks what we call the Office of the Future. We have stepped out on a limb, very similar to what Bob said, is that as entrepreneurs, we have to kind of step out on a limb sometimes. We have to spend and invest money to be able to grow our business. And this is what we intend on doing. The Office of the Future will have a series of technologies that no other office in the country or configured in one place in the country has ever existed. And what we plan on doing is bringing a number of different manufacturers underneath of our platform and having what we call a working showroom. We will have solar energy on display in terms of the energy that's being saved in our building will be displayed when you get off the elevator and you take a look at the monitors that will show you how much energy is being used from just the sunlight, the daylight sunlight that we're harvesting to control the motors on the blinds. And that's just a small snippet of what we're doing. And we also are featuring what is called sit-to-stand furniture. And this furniture that we're featuring is kind of state-of-the-art, where all of the professionals, the chiropractors, are saying that we're sitting down too much. You need to have desks that you can press a button and automatically it will rise in height, and you can stand and work. You can stand and have conversations and meetings with your folks, et cetera. So these are just a snippets of some of the things that you can expect from Alpha. We're going to be located at 4950 Parkside Avenue. We have taken over the entire 5th floor, and it's going to be a sight to see.
Do you have a grand opening date, Chet, or are you still working on it?
We believe that the grand opening date will be the middle part of May.
Okay.
We'll probably be in there operating before that.
Okay.
But we'll be prepared for grand opening probably about the middle of May.
Well, you have to stop past the boardroom meeting again to give us an update so that we'll know concretely when the date is so that we can come out and support that event.
Thank you so much, and you guys have a great day.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being part of the boardroom.
Today's meeting is now adjourned.